The story begins in a maximum security prison. A group of new inmates arrives. Among them is Jack Stone, a former cop who was imprisoned for killing another policeman. Prison guard Green stops Jack with his club. Disgusted by what Jack did, he harasses the prisoner, telling him that both guards and prisoners will make his life here a living hell. When Jack talks back, Green starts beating him with a club. He injures Jack's head. What they didn't know at the time is that Jack Stone was no ordinary prisoner. Green, being a corrupt security guard, secretly smuggles bags of money to a restricted area where he hands them over to a Russian henchman. It turns out this whole section of the prison serves as a residence for a powerful Russian drug lord named Balam. Arranging a deal with the prison's management, he serves his term in a luxurious, isolated cell where he is protected by his personal bodyguards. Despite being locked up in prison, Balam successfully runs his drug empire by giving orders to his men outside. In fact, he prefers staying in prison where he is protected by both security guards and his own men, since his enemies want him dead. It is revealed that Jack and Balam have a long, complicated history that goes back years ago. Back then, Jack was trying to arrest Balam. As revenge, Balam ordered Jack's wife to be killed. Russian hitmen forced Jack to watch as they murdered her, leaving wounded Jack to die by her side. But somehow, he survived. Devastated by his wife's death, Jack devised a plan to infiltrate a bank owned by the Russian mafia. With the help of his two associates, who cut off the electricity in the bank beforehand, Jack engages Russian guards in a fierce firefight. Eventually, Jack and his men gun down all the armed guards. They force the bank manager to open the vault. Once inside, Jack retrieved incriminating evidence linking Balam to corrupt city officials and high-ranking policemen. He also stole millions of dollars of Balam's money and destroyed the vault with an explosion. When robbers left the bank, they were met by Russian mobsters who arrived in cars. In a brief shootout, Jack and his partners shot a few Russians. They threw a grenade, killing the rest in the explosion. But soon, police detectives arrived at the scene. Both of Jack's partners were gunned down by policemen. Surrounded by police, Jack attempted to flee through the crowded streets, pursued by detectives that were running right behind him. They chased him for some time until Jack ran into a parking lot and went up the stairs. When policemen finally caught up with him, Jack left the bag with evidence on one of the floors and went back down to fight them. He ambushed two of the pursuing policemen, knocking them unconscious, but soon his escape came to an end. The remaining detective held him at gunpoint and ordered him to surrender. Jack recognized this detective as one of the corrupt policemen involved in his wife's death. Enraged by his betrayal, Jack threw him off the ledge, killing him in the process. Jack survived the fall, but was severely injured, so he had to lie there and wait to be arrested. The bag of evidence was retrieved by a woman who was part of Jack's crew. She delivered the bag to Tricia Sinclair, a passionate journalist who covers corruption scandals, leaving it anonymously at her doorstep. Back in prison, masked guards escort Jack and the new prisoners to their block. Inmates cheerfully mock the new arrivals, making them visibly nervous at the prospect of becoming easy prey for hardened criminals. But not Jack. He behaves as if he doesn't have a care in the world and confidently mocks the inmates with his gestures. In his cell, Jack gets acquainted with his new cellmate, Silva. During lunch, an inmate called Simeon, who happens to be Balam's cousin, introduces himself to the two new prisoners. He demands that they pay him protection money every week. One of the prisoners makes fun of Simeon, stating he doesn't need protection from him. This enrages the Russian mobster. After ensuring his dominance, Simeon and his friends approach Jack. A brutal fight ensues. Jack easily defeats Simeon's henchmen. He happily sits down and continues his lunch in peace, while enraged Simeon and his gang are taken to solitary confinement by the guards. At Balam's request, guards escort Jack to a room where he talks with the crime lord through a camera. Balam demands that Jack return the documents he took from the vault. Amused by his attempts to threaten him, Jack confidently refuses. Later that night, Green conveniently shuts off the security camera in Jack's cell, as instructed by Balam. Jack wakes up when he hears a door opening. It is three prisoners from Balam's gang. They launch a surprise attack on Jack. Despite being outnumbered, Jack easily neutralizes the attackers in a matter of seconds, without even waking up his cellmate Silva. Tricia looks through the files exposing the corruption of the politicians and police. The next day, she goes to a meeting with the district attorney. He is not in his office. Instead, she is met by his assistant, Mark Crane, a questionable character who tries to persuade her to drop the matter. But Tricia isn't intimidated by him and leaves. Later, Tricia tracks down District Attorney Johnson. She tells him about the evidence she has. He claims to support her efforts in exposing the corruption in the police. Tricia arrives at the prison where Jack is serving his term to talk to him in person. He admits that he was the one who sent her the information and asked her to use it to expose the people involved. When he goes back to his cell, Jack looks at an anchor bracelet his wife gave him, reminiscing about the good times he had with her. An older prisoner named William, who works as a prison janitor, comes to see Jack in his cell. He has been closely watching Jack from the moment he arrived. William expresses his admiration for Jack's fearlessness. Balam's gang rules the prison, and he must be fearless to go against them. Meanwhile, in a female correctional facility in a different part of this prison, an inmate called Elena fights another woman. Defeating her in the fight, Elena is detained by guards. She is brought by guards to a meeting with Balaam, who has also brought in Simeon and his gang. Humiliated by their inability to kill Jack Stone earlier, they are handcuffed and forced on their knees. It is revealed that Simeon and his men were making money on the side and didn't cut Balaam in on the profits. For that, the crime lord orders his cousin executed and his henchmen beaten severely. But then he changes his mind and graciously lets Simeon live. Elena is in trouble because the woman she was fighting earlier happens to be Balaam's enforcer. She apologizes for the offense. Balaam orders his men to spread the word among prisoners and guards. He will pay $100,000 to anyone who assassinates Jack Stone. Later, William tells Jack about the rumors of the bounty on his head. Jack doesn't seem too concerned about it, even when William explains that the guards might try to kill him as well. Seconds later, guards order everyone out of the room, giving Balaam's assassins a chance to corner Jack and William. Using a mop as a weapon, Jack goes through all of them one by one as they desperately try to inflict damage. One of the attackers grabs Jack and starts strangling him. Surprisingly, William rushes to help Jack. District Attorney Johnson informs Balaam about Trisha and the evidence she holds. They conspire to have her killed before she can expose the corrupt city officials. The next day, Jack is working in the laundry room when suddenly 3 masked guards step inside. Realizing what they're after, Jack easily deflects the first hit and proceeds to beat them up one by one. He wins the fight, but sustains injuries himself. Before Jack can catch his breath, he finds himself surrounded by a large crowd of inmates preparing to swarm him. Jack cleverly points out that since there are 9 of them, $100,000 divided by 9 would only give each of them about $11,000, hardly enough to justify the risk of having their sentences extended, or, if they fail, the risk of severe physical injury. Persuaded by the voice of reason, the prisoners reluctantly disperse. Meanwhile, when Trisha goes home, she notices that she's being followed by a strange man. After looking at him through a peephole, Trisha almost has a heart attack when her roommate, Allison, sneaks up behind her to surprise her. Trisha shows Allison the documents and tells her about the massive corruption conspiracy involving city officials and Balaam's organization. In the female section of the prison, Elena approaches Balaam's enforcer, Kat, and tries to apologize to her. Kat mocks her fake apology, which leads to another fight. Elena intentionally gives Kat an opportunity to strike and loses the match lying on the ground. While Kat celebrates her victory, guards drag wounded Elena to the infirmary. While being treated by medical staff, Elena pretends to be unconscious and covertly steals a paperclip. When doctors leave, she uses the paperclip to pick her handcuffs. It turns out the earlier fight was a clever ruse to give Elena an opportunity to escape. She steals 2 bottles of isopropyl alcohol from a drawer and walks out into the corridor. Staying away from the cameras on the ceiling, Elena walks to the janitor's closet. It becomes apparent that she coordinated her escape with William, who left her a key to the ventilation hatch inside his mop bucket. Elena leaves bottles of alcohol inside the bucket, opens the ventilation hatch, and climbs into the shaft. Navigating the ventilation shaft, she thoroughly maps out the layout of the prison, drawing it onto her own body so that she doesn't forget. When she's done, Elena rushes back to the janitor's closet. When she walked out, she almost got caught by a nurse, but luckily William was there to distract her. So Elena managed to slip back inside the infirmary undetected, where she pretended to regain consciousness just when the nurse came in. Jack realizes that William is not a prisoner, but a cop. When Jack confronts him about it, William reluctantly admits that he is an undercover FBI agent tasked with bringing down the corrupt prison management on Balaam's payroll. Elena, also an FBI agent, is his partner. They have been working there for 6 months, but weren't getting anywhere. Now, with Jack's help, they can finally bring down Balaam's organization. Seconds later, Jack is ambushed by yet another group of prisoners eager to kill him. With the help of William and Silva, Jack fights them off, but he is soon detained by security guards. For starting a brawl, Jack is tossed into solitary confinement. William is called into Warden Blaine's office. The warden is deeply disappointed that William participated in the brawl. It turns out the prisoner William threw off the ledge earlier was one of Balaam's men and was seriously injured. William would be dead within a week if he were sent back to the same prison block. Using this argument, Blaine tries to coerce William into giving him $10,000 for protection from Balaam's men. William agrees, saying his brother will deliver the money. Sometime later, Trisha comes to speak with District Attorney Johnson. He is not in his office. With a smirk on his face, Crane coldly recommends Trisha to go to the FBI if she thinks she can take them all down. In prison, Balaam is escorted by guards to a meeting with his daughter. Observing this, William signals Elena to begin. She fakes a seizure, knowing that the guards will drag her to the infirmary again. On their way, the guards are attacked by William and Elena, who knock them unconscious. They drag the unconscious guards into the janitor's closet, where William mixes alcohol with detergent to make a homemade anesthetic. Elena enters the ventilation system and proceeds further into the facility. Meanwhile, William goes through a boiler room and sneaks under the security station, where he uses the substance he made to neutralize the guard inside. Elena reaches the surveillance room and releases the substance, rendering the guard inside unconscious. Balam meets his daughter, whom he hasn't seen since she was a little girl many years ago in Russia. All this time, she thought her father was dead. Officially, he died as a hero in a war. Needless to say, when she found out that Balam was alive and living as a crime boss in America, she was furious. Deeply disappointed in her father, she leaves, saying she never wants to see him again. Elena infiltrates the surveillance room. Looking at the camera footage, she observes guards bringing Balam back to his cell and signals William. William disguises himself as a security guard and opens the isolation cell where Jack is being held, giving him an opportunity to incapacitate the guard at the door. William contacts Jack on the guard's radio, informing him that now he has a chance for revenge. Jack puts on the security guard's uniform. Following instructions from William and Elena, he walks through the facility. A problem arises when a security guard tries to enter the surveillance room. Elena ignores him for some time and continues guiding Jack, but then the warden arrives and opens the door. Elena quickly escapes into the ventilation. William encounters a similar situation when security guards want to enter his room but can't. Realizing they don't have much time, William rushes to open every single door in the entire facility, giving Jack a chance to proceed towards Balam. Confused prisoners walk out of their cells and quickly realize that this is a rare chance for them to attempt an escape. They start attacking the guards and beat them up viciously, throwing the entire prison into a riot. Pure chaos ensues as random violence spreads all over the facility. Not only guards are beaten to death, but Balam's men as well. When guards finally break into the security room, William fights them off and escapes. The warden orders the facility to be sealed off and triggers the alarm. Hearing the alarm sound, Balam attacks his escorting guards and escapes towards his bodyguards. Jack chases him, going through many prisoners who mistakenly take him for a guard. Green cowardly attempts to escape the prison, but he is stopped by Jack, who happily throws him back into the hands of the angry rioters. When Balam reaches his bodyguards, he suddenly announces that he is not going to flee. Instead, he will personally go after Jack Stone. Leaving the ventilation, Elena encounters Kat, who still wants revenge for the fights they had earlier. Kat and her friends attack Elena with knives. She deflects their attacks and knocks Kat's associates to the ground. Kat and Elena go back and forth, striking each other, until eventually Elena puts her on the ground and brutally smashes her head with a closet door. In an unexpected twist, it is revealed that Allison, Trisha's roommate, is working for Balam. She assaults Trisha and takes her at gunpoint, ordering her to return the original evidence she got from Jack Stone. Meanwhile, Jack is closing in on Balam, fighting through the prisoners still loyal to the crime boss. He defeats Simeon in a fight and starts strangling him, but Simeon pulls out a knife and injures Jack. When Jack falls, Simeon tries to finish him off, but Jack deflects the knife attack and knocks the attacker to the ground. Severely injured Jack is about to face Fedor, Balam's bodyguard. Luckily for Jack, Silva is nearby and decides to save his cellmate from the certain death. As he watches them fight, Jack struggles to stand or even remain conscious. Realizing he doesn't have much time before he faints, Jack rushes off to find Balam. Trisha distracts Allison by attempting to persuade her to drop the gun. She grabs the pistol and knocks it out of Allison's hands. They fight for some time, but then Allison grabs the pistol. In an unexpected twist, Mark Crane arrives in the apartment and shoots Allison. It turns out he is an undercover FBI agent that was assigned to bring down the corrupt politicians working with Balam. In prison, William assaults Warden Blaine and his men. Knocking them all to the ground in a brief fight, he is left alone with a corrupt warden. Blaine pathetically begs on his knees, promising to give William a large sum of money if he spares his life. Enraged by Warden's attempts to buy him off, William executes him with a grenade launcher. Responding to the riot, SWAT policemen arrive at the facility. Jack and Balam finally find each other. A brutal fight ensues where both inflict heavy blows on one another. Due to his injury, Jack starts losing to Balam. Enraged by Balam's attempts to justify killing his wife, Jack regains his strength and counterattacks aggressively, putting Balam on the ground. He starts beating him up viciously, killing him in the process. Jack is happy that he finally had his revenge. SWAT policemen stop the rioting prisoners. They find Balam's body in one of the rooms. Meanwhile, a wounded Jack makes his way to William and Elena. They thank him for eliminating Balam. With him dead, his organization will crumble. With the help of the FBI, Trisha publishes the documents, leading to the arrest of corrupt city officials and policemen that were involved with Balam. Jack is taken into custody by William, who promises to use his influence to have Jack released from prison. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.